Good morning. Today we'd like to talk about the Iowa Quester Glass Collection. I'm Allison Sheridan. I'm the Collections Manager for the University Museums at Iowa State University. The Iowa Quester Glass Collection is a unique collection. It actually adds quite a bit of primary source material to our existing glass collection at the Bernier Art Museum. That collection ranges from very ancient glass all the way to very contemporary glass. You can see an example of contemporary behind me in the installation of the Lobmeyer chandeliers in the Sheeman building right outside the entrance to the Bernier Art Museum. The Iowa Quester Glass Collection was formalized in 1996, a partnership with the Iowa Questers, who are a group of collectors, antiquers, and knowledge seekers that are throughout Iowa and actually a part of an international organization. The Ames area native, Kay Beckett, the late Kay Beckett, she was part of the Netta Snook chapter of Questers, worked along with Shirley Foster, who was then Quester president, and our director, Lynette Holman of the University Museums, and they formalized a collecting group and a collection that would then go on to augment what was already here as part of the permanent collection. The collection of the Iowa Questers focuses mainly on American glass made from about 1840 to about 1950. And so really broad strokes of glass from art glass all the way through cut glass and then into pressed glass. We do kind of cut off in the Depression glass era, but we have a strong holding of American pressed glass. So two examples that I have here with me. This is actually one of the very first gifts that came in 1996. It is a verre de soie vase made by Frederick Carter for Steuben. And also, Steuben was in Corning, New York. And so also in Corning area was the T.J. Hawkes Company. And this is a wonderful cut glass vase of the American Brilliant period. And it's in the Othello pattern. And so it's beautifully done, deeply cut. It's very sharp to the touch. And then this is just kind of the opposite. It is very thin and iridescent. Completely different glass technique. One of the other aspects of the Quester partnership with University Museums is that they host exhibitions in our space. One of the largest and most profound exhibitions that they've done in recent years was an American Brilliant Cut Glass exhibition. 10,000 square feet of the Bernier Art Museum was transformed into a dazzling, glittering display of wonderful works and monumental works of brilliant cut glass. All produced in America. Each time they do an exhibition, usually the Questers seek out a kind of a signature object. And so for that exhibition, they worked hard. They contacted many dealers, looked at auctions, and really did their research and came up with about 5 or 6 objects that they selected from this signature object, which is a 3-part Empress cut vase. It is made by the Quaker City Glass Company, and it was, it's obviously monumental. You can see it's taller than I am in this setting, but it's about 36 inches tall, and it comes apart into 2 pieces here and then the center ring. It is definitely a signature object for their collection, and then they went on to have other signature objects that we'll talk about in just a moment. One of the interesting things about this object is that later on, after the exhibition, we actually found a stereopticon card that showcased the Quaker City display at one of the world fairs. And this vase was featured in it. They only did, I think, maybe less than 10 copies of this vase. And so again, each one is unique, but we have one of these wonderful examples. A few years after the American Brilliant Cut Glass exhibition, the Questers hosted a pressed glass exhibition. Pressed glass is made by a different technique. It's not cut glass. It's actually pressed in molds or mold blown. And so pressed glass was created to kind of give the everyday collector an opportunity to have important pieces of glass. And so once again, the Questers sought out a signature object, and they had several to select from. The chosen object was this compote. It's a frosted ribbon compote with Rebecca at the well, and you can kind of see Rebecca down here. Again, it acted as the signature object for the pressed glass exhibition. Once again, it was 10,000 square feet, everything from state series to novelties to different different styles of objects, table sets, that kind of thing, in multitudes of patterns made up this pressed glass exhibition. Another one of the highlights was a complete table set in the jumbo pattern. You can note the elephant on the top here. This is actually a piece of that pattern. It is the spoon rest, so you'd have actually rested your spoons on this, and it was part of the table set that we have the entire set of. So many questers actually have donated objects over the years. The collection now numbers about 1,500 objects. Again, a wide range of objects, as you'll see today. And I'll show you a few more of those highlights in just a second. So the Quester glass collection actually ranges from very small toothpick holders all the way to that large monumental glass vase. It's all housed here with university museums. And for the most part, it's made up by individual donations and/or donations that have been sought out by Iowa Questers. And so a few examples of individual donations, you can see an example here. It's the Lady Liberty. This is actually a pickle jar, so it would have had a lid. Sometimes you see this and it's got what they call goofus glass, so it's very, very colorful. This has gotten its goofus rubbed away at some point. And so again, we have these examples, and then we have very unique examples of glass. This is actually a pressed glass washboard that was utilized for advertising of a business. The business was based out of Columbus, Ohio, and you can see markings on the back and on the front. It was called Home Aid. And so this part of the washboard is actually pressed glass. We have honey dishes, we have, pickle jars, lots of compotes and cake plates and trays, and again, all made up from individual donors. We've also accepted several estate gifts in the past several years. Again, a toothpick collection of 170 toothpicks from Iva Bader. Jackie Smith has donated part of her collection. James Jung has donated part of his collection that you'll see when we talk about Flicker and Flame. Again, lots of individual donors, and then the Questers as a whole have collected for us. So currently the Quester glass collection is what we call closed. We are not accepting gifts on the regular for this collection. We are, however, still having the Questers seek out wonderful examples to augment our existing collection. And so an example of this is this Ruba rhombic pitcher. It's a wonderful Art Deco kind of modernistic shape designed by Reuben Haley for Consolidated. It's a well-known pattern in pattern glass. There's examples in the Metropolitan Museum of Art and National Design Museums. But again, this was a selected acquisition for us. We're not accepting everything anymore. We also do kind of take into account that there's estate gifts that go on. And so we have a selection of people that help us to choose estate gifts and get that, make sure that we're augmenting the collection in a very strategic way. Due to storage, we can't just take everything. And so again, trying to very strategically add in objects. One of those strategic additions, actually a couple of those strategic additions, are for exhibitions. The current exhibition at the Farmhouse Museum, again, that's what makes this collection wonderful. It bridges both the museum here, the Bernier Art Museum, and the Farmhouse Museum, our historic home on campus. The current exhibition there is Flicker and Flame. And so we talk about whale oil lamps, kerosene lamps, spills, and kind of the pre-electricity illumination of the farmhouse. And the Iowa Questers helped us to have several major examples of wonderful buffet lamps. And this is an example of a 3-part lamp that you'll see. And then other kerosene lamps in colors and patterns, finger lamps. And then James Jung, like I said earlier, donated his collection of whale oil lamps and burning fuel lamps. So we're really able to tell a complete story of an illumination history leading up to electrification of the facility. I hope you've enjoyed this brief look at the Iowa Quester Glass Collection. Again, the collection numbers 1,500 objects that really range the gamut. And so I really encourage you to go online and search the Iowa Quester Glass Collection. That collection is available to you to look through, and you can actually look through all 1,500 objects, and there's photographs of those objects and information. We also are looking forward to an upcoming Quester Glass exhibition that will be in the Bernier Art Museum, but there'll be more information released at a later date on that. The Flicker and Flame exhibition at the farmhouse will run through October 2021. And so please join us to go see that exhibition at the Farmhouse Museum right on Central Campus. Again, we owe a debt of gratitude to the early Iowa questers that helped found this collection and the ongoing questers that help support and exhibit their works of art and their glass here.